The night I decided to stop dyeing my hair, I felt something I didn't expect. Completely and utterly free. At first, I attributed that feeling just to being finally done with the chore of dyeing my hair and covering my roots. But as the night wore on, something deeper set in. I felt a huge weight lift off my chest and I couldn't figure out what it was. Then it hit me. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of getting older. And what's crazy is I hadn't even realized how much I was. That fear wasn't something I ever said out loud. I didn't walk around saying I'm afraid of being or looking old. It was just there, running around quietly in the back of my mind. I started going gray when I was only 15 years old. I plucked those early grays out and I started dyeing my hair just for fun when I was a freshman in college. But by my late 20s, dyeing my hair wasn't fun anymore. It was just a chore that I felt like I had to do. I never even questioned it. And then one night at a Chinese restaurant in the early 90s, my friend's husband looked at me, started to say something, and then he stopped. I pushed him on it and he said, "I didn't want to be rude, but I noticed your gray roots are showing." Oh my God, I felt instantly ashamed. I was in my late 20s and I couldn't bear the thought that somebody had seen my gray hair. So the next morning I went out, bought a box of hair dye, and touched up my roots before I could get to my next salon appointment. I couldn't wait. I didn't want anybody else to see them. Why did I feel so ashamed? Looking back, I can trace that shame pretty directly to every single hair dye ad I saw growing up in the 1970s and 1980s. If you're a Gen Xer or above, I'm sure you saw those ads too. They often featured an ashamed housewife rushing to cover her roots before her husband noticed them. Otherwise, it was heavily implied he would start looking longingly at all the young women in his office, and the housewife would be left behind. I absorbed that message like a sponge without even noticing it. So when I finally decided to quit dyeing my hair, you'd think the hard part would come afterward. But my emotional roller coaster, that started way earlier than you'd expect. 10 years before I stopped dyeing, in fact. Here's what happened. Around age 40, my hair started to show the toll of decades of hair dye. It looked and felt like straw, and I'm not exaggerating. And I was losing hair at an alarming rate. I lost handfuls every time I took a shower and every time I brushed my hair. And ironically, even though I couldn't see it at the time, my dark hair dye actually made me look older, not younger. It completely overpowered my complexion. Age 40 is when I first started seriously thinking about letting my hair go gray. And then I made my first big mistake. I asked my friends what they thought. They were horrified, so I dropped it. Except I couldn't stop thinking about it. Occasionally, out in the streets of Los Angeles, I'd see a woman with beautiful silver hair in her 40s walking around, and I would want to go up and ask her all about it, but I didn't want to intrude. But the thought of stopping the hair dye wouldn't leave me alone. And then one night when I was 50, everything changed. I'd spent a few days preparing to touch up my roots at home, but something kept stopping me. Every time I'd open the cupboard and reach for the dye bottle, I just couldn't. I'd stare at it. Sometimes I'd even pick it up. But the thought of coloring my hair just one more time filled me with such dread that I would just put it back. I did this for 3 or 4 days, and then I finally said, I'm done. Done dyeing my hair at the salon every few weeks. Done touching up my roots at home. Done thinking about my roots constantly and worrying about covering them before every major event. Done worrying about what people think about my gray hair. In that moment, I knew I meant it because I felt something I hadn't anticipated. Free. Completely rebelliously free. Like I'd just broken a rule that I hadn't even known I was following. Going gray changed something deeper than just my hair color. For over 35 years, I'd been hiding a part of myself. I'd been deeply ashamed of something that was just a part of me, the real me. And then it hit me how much energy I had spent chasing my youth instead of enjoying who I was at that moment. So letting go of the dye made me feel mindful in a way that I didn't expect. Like I was finally living in my actual body and in my actual life. And that was what made me feel less afraid of getting older. About 5 years before I quit the dye, I actually had been thinking about that fear of getting older and examining it. Because I lost a friend who was only in her early 40s to cancer, and she left 2 young children behind. That loss put things into perspective because being here on this earth with the people you love matters so much more than looking young. But here's what surprised me after I went gray. I realized accepting my age wasn't enough. I didn't want to just make peace with it. I wanted to actually enjoy it. Enjoy being exactly who I am right now at this age. And that That feeling made me feel younger than I had in years, and that feeling has not gone away. Now, if you're still dyeing your hair and you're watching this and thinking, I could never do that, I could never let my hair go gray, I need to remind you that I said the exact same thing to myself for many years. Now, of course, you don't have to go gray. Nobody should do it unless they want to. But if you do want to, it is so worth it. It's been 8 years now, and the only regret I have is not doing it sooner. And if any part of what I've shared today resonates with you, that's your sign that you might be ready to ditch the dye as well. Just remember, you won't be doing this alone. There are thousands of women all over the world doing this with you at the same time, and we're cheering you on. But if that fear of feeling older or looking older with gray hair is still nagging at you, I made a video especially to address that fear, so make sure to head on over to that video, and I'll see you over there. Thanks so much.